What's up, guys? We're back. We're working on a Ford Explorer chassis swapped 1953 Ford F-250. Now, as you can see behind me, things look a little off. Well, do you remember a video or two ago? I was kind of excited. I had a truck that had a full clean floor in it. I didn't have to do anything to it. Well, yeah, more of how I got here and some more on this build on this episode. I'm Kevin. This is Ridge Runner Garage. As you can see, I cut into the floor to get this cab low enough. I want the running boards to sit right on the ground. When this is on the ground, the air is out of the suspension, I want it to sit all the way down, right? So in order to do that, I had to get the cab a little lower, so I cut these two frame rails on the floor. Obviously, you can't have that. I don't want that. Right now, as you can see, the cab is balancing right on the transmission, right around this spot here. I didn't want to make too many patches, or I want to cut it in a way that I don't have to patch it up a bunch of different ways, because it's got this, this rubber stuff on here, which is not super easy to take off. This stuff does seem to be peeling off fairly easy, but you can't weld through it, so, I don't know. I guess I'll get to cutting and see where I end up. So, I've had this kind of all together, right? I've been measuring it from the bottom of the cab to the ground. I need 12 inches on all four corners in order for it to let all the air out of the suspension, be down on the ground. Well, that will be 4 inches from the ground, and the running boards are 4 inches tall. So this will be laid right out on the ground. Well, this corner here won't go all the way down. It goes down about 13 inches, and I can't get it any lower because the suspension won't go any lower. Well, I figured I'm going to have to channel the cab. I cut a little bit in the cab, figured I'd just fix the floor later. Well, I couldn't get this corner down, so what did I do? I cut this whole section out of the floor, which I didn't have to do. And here's actually the problem. This fuel tank, there's my problem right there. There's an inch. If I can get this corner of the fuel tank down, I can gain the inch of the corner of the cab that I need. I just don't know how I'm going to do this. Either I bend that bracket, cut it, re-weld it, drill new holes, or just smash the tank. What am I going to do? All right. Now, how many of you think I smashed that with a hammer? I know of a few that would. I know a few that think I did, but no, I did not. I extended the bracket so the gas tank will tip down, and then at the bottom I'll use spacers. Although the ones of you that think I smashed it with a hammer, I love you guys. You're the greatest. All right, see? Bracket's finished, and there we go. Down nice, no gap over on this side over here, so put the cab back down. And let's see if we get our 12 inches. Let's see if we'll get our 12 inches that we need. So that's actually our final results on the little, bracket that I made for the fuel tank. Shims it down far enough. It's definitely going to be more than high enough in the truck. And I was worried about denting the tank. Of course, it's dented at the bottom, but all right, so it's the next day. Back in the shop making mounts for this cab. By the next day, I mean a week later. And this is what I came up with. I used the part of the mount for the Ford Explorer. And what I did was, this is a piece of that 2x5 that I used to extend the frame. I just welded it to the frame here, threw a little paint on it, Here's the hole that was in the cab. And that'll bolt through the hole. My idea is that this is going to be solid, but the cab will float on this rubber a little bit. So yeah, this is my front cab mount. Duplicate the same thing on the other side.
And I don't know, I have to figure out how to make the rear, because they're not straight down, they're sideways. So who makes a mount like that? I don't know, I'll figure it out. All right, this is what I came up with for the rear mounts. I've been saving these brackets in a pile of parts. I have no idea what they're for, what they came from. They've just been in a pile of steel that I've had, and they freakishly fit perfectly. All right, check that out. That's a bolt hole for the 53 cab. This is a bolt for the original mounts from the Ford Explorer. And perfect. How about that? Cab's nice and mounted, awesome. I got it up high on jack stands. The mounts, I mean, my welds are decent. I've been welding for a long time. I know they're good, but I'm not a custom fabricator like they are on TV. I don't have all these special tools like they do. I wish I did, but I work in a small garage at home. What I do have is a can of Rust-Oleum. This will make anybody's shoddy welds look good. All right, see, there's my mount, there's my weld. I mean, I don't know, my welds are okay, right? I'm not too bad at welding, so, but look. Looks brand new. There's the other side, a little more custom fab work over here. That'll blend. What do you think? I got the running boards mocked up. They look awesome. Check out the other side. Oh yeah, by the way, I got all kinds of room for the motor and accessories there, so check it out. Nice mocked up. The brackets look like they're actually gonna fit. Believe it or not, I'll be able to weld them to the frame and bolt them to the running boards. I may be able to mock them up or cut them up a little bit, I don't know. But looks pretty good. The bed's in place as to where we're gonna want it. I am not going to put these running boards on just yet. They're just mocked up. The reason why is I still need to get underneath the truck. Even though it's way up in the air now, it's still not up far enough to have these running boards on it. So after I get the bed mounted in, I'm going to put this floor back in. And I'm excited because now that the cab and everything's all bolted in, the bed's going to be all bolted in. I've got a complete truck. It means I can run stuff in and out of the cab. I can run the air lines, run the steering column, the brakes, everything. This ought to go together in no time at all. Or not. And there we go. All welded up. Same thing in the back. I'll eventually put something in the middle. I'm going to probably put like a false floor in it, so it's going to have angle iron around in here anyway, so I think that'll stiffen it up. So yeah, that's all done. Cab's bolted on, bed's bolted on. Now it's time for that mess. Hey, you know how you have this tar stuff, whatever this is probably sound deadening mat on the floor of something, and you want to clean it up, and you've seen people on TV freeze this stuff, chip it off, all kinds of stuff. You try grinding on it and it plugs up your sanding disc and it doesn't work. Well, here's what you do. Take a cutoff wheel. That's how you get rid of that stuff. Quick, easy, use a cutoff wheel. You don't have to do this whole weird thing you see on TV of freezing it and breaking it off. That works the quickest way. That's how you're gonna get it off.
Quick update as to where I'm at. Been working on the floor after work at nights here and there. It's been about a week since I've last seen you. You know, this is the first thing I've ever channeled. I've built a lot of cars over the years, and this is the first one that I've ever had where the body sat lower than the frame. So this is, and if you haven't seen it, this is considered channeling. That means where the cab actually, or the frame rather, protrudes into the cab more than the floor can take. So if you see right here, this is about an inch up off the frame. This is something I didn't plan on doing, so I'm excited because once I get this done and all of this welded and bolted together, it means the rest of the truck, other than just making the mount for the flip front end, which I don't know how to do, I'll have to figure out, is going to be done. And from there on out, it should be just fabbing up a couple things here and then bolting it all together, putting the wiring harness in, plug it in, and we'll see if it runs. So I'll get back to this, try to figure out how I'm going to make the other side, and I'll show you guys how it comes out.
What do you think?
That's our floor. That's how it came out anyway.
Little stepping in on both sides.
And I don't know, I think that'll work. Man, that's the worst part about building anything, is I didn't really want to do that floor at all. You have to stick it out when it comes to this difficult stuff, because I've got tons of new parts here. I want to throw all kinds of new stuff on this thing. I'm really excited to bolt some new stuff on, but stick out the hard stuff or you'll be left with nothing but hard stuff and your project will never get done. So stick the hard stuff out, like that floor, because I didn't want to do it. While I got the welder out and the grinder and I'm all filthy, I'm going to tackle that exhaust finally.
And so this is what I'm going to make my exhaust out of. This universal 2-inch kit. It's a kit you can get off eBay. It was right around $100 or so. I've got this 2-1 3-inch. This is another item I got eBay or Amazon as well. I want to say it was right around $30. Mufflers I got for free, and a 2-inch to 3-inch adapters. So I'm gonna try to, the exhaust comes across under the motor, stops, and then the passenger side turns and goes straight back. And it had cats on it. Somebody already robbed them. That's one of the reasons I got this Ford Explorer so cheap. So I'm going to tack all this together, bring it out from underneath the truck, or at least my plan is anyways, and tack it together. We'll see what happens.
So I'm on my way to getting the exhaust done on this thing, and the Ford Explorer had the converters cut off it. One of the O2 sensor, it was missing altogether. So I got a sensor and I was looking for the bung to weld in. Around where I'm at, all I have is an AutoZone, an Advanced Auto, on O'Reilly's. They don't really kind of carry the O2 sensor bungs. You might find something like that at like a Napa or a Parks or something like that. Somebody that does more commercial type of business. But what you can get is most of these places will sell these little spark plug non-followers, and they're 18mm thread as well. And these are the same as an O2 sensor bung. And you will find these usually in one of their like help aisles. So you take one of these, cut the end off, and weld it in as an O2 sensor bung. So if you're ever stuck and you want to find an O2 sensor bung, you don't have a commercial auto parts store, anti-fouler or non-fouler.
Here's my exhaust so far. Came out pretty good. I'm gonna weld it all together. Probably just turn it up just a little bit. Especially right here, she's kind of crooked a little bit, but it'll work out. Yeah, straight. 2-in-1 into a single flow master, and then I'll have to just get a maybe a 45 or something and tip it down towards the ground. So that's how I did the exhaust, and it right there.
As I was saying at the end of the last video, I can't get the front of this as low as I had planned. So consequently, the rear is actually too low. I didn't really need to C-notch the frame, but I had it, so I did it. I only really needed to take a little bit out, but I took a lot out. I mean, you know, plan for the future, right? Well, I could chop the frame up, pull the motor out of the front, chop the frame up, raise the control arms and everything, and I really don't want to do that. I still want it to be, you know, I still want to be able to get parts for it someplace. You know, if I needed a control arm, or if I needed a bushing, or something along those lines, I still want to be able to fix it when I have to. So I'm gonna not do that, and I'm just going to actually just put a spacer in the back of the airbags, and I'll show you what I came up with.
So I had these two pieces of 5x2 1/4 inch stock left over from when I did the frame extension, right? So I took some 1.5 inch, you know, just, well, it's looks like DOM pipe. Yeah, it's DOM, scheduled 40 pipe or scheduled 60, whatever. And I'm gonna put this on our mount here, and that's gonna be my airbag extension. I think it'll work. I mean, I've never done an extension before. It's always kind of worked out, but here we go. This is gonna be a new territory for me. I'll have to stick something in here to spread it out before I weld it, but that's gonna be it. All right, this is what I came up with. What do you think? I saw somebody do this once, and I guess I never thought about why they did it. So there you go. I mean, so the next thing I'm gonna get onto is I'm gonna get the brakes all plumbed on this thing. I took the brake booster off the Ford Explorer, and this has holes in the firewall that it had a really huge brake booster on it, which I think was off the truck that this was made up out of, like the Ford F-150 or 250 that this Ford and stuff was swapped out with. And we'll see if this matches up. It's 4 bolts. My hole in the firewall. Almost. I'll just hold these holes out a little bit, bolt it on there. That'll work. That'll work. All right, this is the back side of it. This is the pedal assembly I took off that Ford Explorer. Part about this, I got the switch. That's where the pedal's gonna land. That should work. Why I'm doing this, before I get into the lines or anything, I am going to put the gas pedal in it too, just so I can get something done, say I completed, you know, at least got the pedals in tonight. Waiting on a few brake parts. So I thought I would try to put the radiator in front. Radiator support and everything in this. I've got the one I cut out of the Ford Explorer. You know, the truck's gonna have a hood on it, it's gonna be a flip front end. But this thing's just it just looks bad, you know? What am I gonna do? Well, this is what I came up with for the radiator support. Check it out. What do you think? I mean, I know it's not bolted down, right? But, and the paint's still wet. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, it looks rough. It looks better than it did anyway, so. Literally trying to put enough paint on it so you can't see the grinder marks. I know paint doesn't cover anything, but Covers all my mistakes. Ah, starting to look pretty good. Just a little bit outside. I went to the junkyard yesterday and got one of these. This is a proportioning valve, and I got it off a Jeep Cherokee. I don't know if it's going to fit the Ford here. It actually looks like it's going to be perfect. There is a bracket on here. The reason why I'm going to put a proportioning valve on here and not just... You can tee them together and the master cylinder will run both the front and rear brakes. But if you blow a wheel cylinder, well, not a wheel cylinder in this case, this has calipers all the way around it. But if you have a problem with the brake line, a brake hose, caliper, or something like that, and you know, you leak fluid, it's gonna go all out the hole. It's not going to, you know, stop it anywheres. And not having a proportioning valve is also known as press and pray brakes. Press and pray. Swear. So what the proportioning valve does is one of these legs leaks fluid, it'll actually stop the fluid from going through, and it'll still continue to have brakes on the other two. So what do we got here? We have a box marked kitchen, and it says Cook Medical on it. What's in here? Dun, dun, dun. My spare brake line, spare brake hoses, or fuel hose, all kinds of stuff. Now, you could keep your brake line and extra hose in a box marked kitchen in your shelf in the garage. You should. It'd be cooler if you did. Here we have my Blue Point hydraulic flaring toolkit. Look at this. Well used. And actually, now that I moved down south, it just kind of rusts because I don't use it at all. I've probably done thousands, literally, of brake lines every day if you're from the north with this kit. This is the way to do brake lines. So easy, so fast. The other way, the old school way with that wing nut deal. All right, check this out. This is how easy this works. Put my fitting on, and it's even got a little bend in it, which isn't perfect, but it's going to work out. We take our fancy tool here. It's got a die for 3/16. You put the line in, and you go to the end of the die, which I can feel with my thumb right here. It's not ideal having a bend in it, but it'll work. And this fitting is a 45-degree double flare. So you'll take your first die, unscrew the tool, lock in the little hydraulic lever, and put the little pin inside the line and start squeezing. Until it's tight. Release the hydraulic, and now for your cone. Right up in there. Couple pumps of that. Okay. Now that is the perfect double flare. That easy. So much easier than the other way of doing it. And that tool right there, by the way, that tool, I got that when it first came out. This thing was like $500 or $600 on the Snap-on truck. Now you can get them for $300 maybe, something like that. That's worth its weight in gold right there. So here we got the brake lines that the Explorer had. And I could run new brake lines, sure, but I mean, it's got these lines, so, and they have this shield on them. What I'm gonna do is kind of manipulate the line here into a straight spot so I can put the fitting on here. I'm gonna cut it off. Do that, and now this shielding stuff comes right off, and I can use a brake line. So let's see about throwing a fitting on here. All right, this is what we ended up with. This feeds the left front, this feeds the right front, and this feeds the rear. We fix the brake line in the back, and maybe we'll get Lisa out here to help us bleed some brakes. I put some wheel spacers on the back. Put 2" on the back, and I am putting 1.5" on the front. Make sure you use plenty. Let's see, a nice healthy portion of Loctite. There we go. I don't know where I got this blue Loctite paste, but it's blue Loctite. It's got a weird smell, doesn't it? Loctite. It's got its own smell that doesn't smell like anything else. It smells like something you might have in elementary school or something. Kind of reminds me of some taffy I might have had once when I was a kid. It's kind of disturbing. It smells like something you ate. And don't be bashful about putting them on. The aluminum does wear a little bit. That's why you send them all the way home. It's not going anywhere. All right. Well, update. Today I am going to get the front end on this. But first things first, while I'm doing this, I'm going to get the interior all cleaned up. AKA Rust-Oleum. One new addition, I did put a harness bar in here because I do plan on putting harnesses in this. A lot easier making a seatbelt that way. So yeah, this will do a good job of covering up any imperfections in the floor. Just cover it in paint. Ready to drag a front end around?
Sure.
It's out back.
Let's do it.
It's not too heavy. It's not fiberglass, but we're just gotta figure out the hinges to make it fit. Make it work. I have no idea what I'm gonna do about the hinges on this. I don't even know if it's gonna fit over the motor. It doesn't look like it will fit. Yeah. What's it hitting? Typical. Alright, problem that we're up against is the front end is hitting the front of the frame. Not a problem, I cut the frame back a little bit. This is the transmission cooler, and it's clearly going to be in the way. I took the condenser out so I can maybe cut the tabs off, stick it back here, and re-weld the tabs back on it. The trouble I'm going to have is these cooler lines. Well, I mean, maybe we can make them work. And I could definitely cut down our radiator support a little bit more. So let me sit back and try to figure this out and see what I gotta do to cut this or get this in here. See, even banged into that. I guarantee if I didn't have this block of wood there, I would have gone through the radiator. Guarantee it. Lesson learned. Learn from me. Don't learn from making your own mistakes. Learn from my mistakes, because I make them all the time. Check out our handiwork. So it was out here in the way. Just drilled 2 holes in the lower support and just bent this tab around and re-welded it here. There we go. That'll work. It gives me plenty of room to cut about 1 inch off of these. Hopefully the front end will fit. So I'm here grinding away, welding. And I didn't know if any of you guys saw this structure here. It's basically just a couple pieces of angle iron, and the front end's all welded together. So I just wanted to show you this. These are the plates we're going to weld a couple pieces of pipe to. I'm just going to get most of this done and show you what I've got when I'm done. But I wanted to see, in case anybody's going to try one of these flip front ends, this is what we've got. Whew, what do you think? So front end is on. I know you can barely see it. Sun's going down here. Get in the garage a little bit. Got the jack stands underneath it. The only reason it's there so I can show you how I made the front end, or made the pin and all. So here's what we've got. Flat piece of steel here. I just used this scheduled 40 pipe that I had laying around. This was a little towards the end of the frame rail, so I actually stuck two together so it would kind of be welded a little farther back. And I took another piece of pipe here and use it as a pin. So it's gonna probably pivot over here, and probably what I'm gonna do, no, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a bolt through here. So I'm gonna drill a hole through both of these and it'll turn or pivot on this, I think. Or I put a bolt through that, I'm not sure which. Looks like it'd be easier to put a bolt here, but I think I'd rather see it pivot on all this material over here. I don't know, I'll figure that out later. But anyways, this is what I ended up with. Same on the other side, and it actually works really, really well. So here, check it out. Get this. Oh, I left the jack stands under there. Hold please. All right, now let's try this again. Flip front end. I don't have anything to hold it in place just yet, but yeah, check it out. Pretty cool, huh? That's how I did it.
Check that out. I am pretty excited. I've never owned a vehicle with a flip front end before. That thing looks pretty darn cool. Got the interior all painted up. Looks pretty good. This week I'm actually going to go get a seat, and it's going to be a surprise for you guys. So the body's all bolted on. We've got fuel lines, we've got brake lines, and working brakes are all bled and ready to go. The radiator's in it. It's full of coolant. I put coolant in it and it didn't leak out. Imagine that. So from here on out, the next thing we've got to do is we've got to wire this thing. And I have all that wiring from the Ford Explorer to put in it. All of that wiring plus what's in that dashboard has to get put into this thing, hidden in a manner that you don't see it all. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'll figure it out. There's not a lot of room behind the dashboard in this truck, but I'm determined to do it. So I'm going to definitely get that wiring. And on the next episode, you're going to finally hear this thing run. I'm super excited about that. By the way, if you guys like my content or what's going on this channel, definitely click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Everything about that's appreciated. Thank you very much for doing that. I'm Kevin. This is Ridge Runner Garage.